Biggest question on a lot of Blue Jays fans' mind. Will Bo Bichette be ready? He says yes. But what capacity does that bring? Who are the Blue Jays going to start against this Dodgers team? A lot of questions going into the World Series.
You are Locked On Blue Jays, your daily Toronto Blue Jays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jays. Thank you for making Locked On Blue Jays your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. Some big news coming around Bo Bichette. We all know that he said that he would be back and ready to go, but what capacity would that be in? As well, some starter talk. Which guys can have success against this Dodgers lineup? We're going to talk about it all today. But before we do that, I got to start bringing this back, right? Like, we've had Skyler on, we've had Dal on, but for this guy in particular, he wanted it. Locked On Blue Jays guest host Tristan Baranoski. There you go. I said I'd bring it back for you.
Thank you. Very, very happy to be back. A very, very special occasion. It's been far too long. Certainly excited to be here, fellas. And in this circumstance, I didn't know how long, if ever, we'd see it. So, ready to go.
As always, I'm Brayden Iwasco. He's Carter First. Tristan Baranoski. You can find us on Twitter, Brayden5 Iwasco. Carter First too as well, and our main one at Locked On Jays. Barrow, do you have a Twitter or something they can find you on?
No.
Okay.
I only have a burner. I'm not sure.
He's anonymous.
That's fair. Yeah. Okay. And you can also find us on Instagram and TikTok at Locked On Blue Jays. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already and give us your comments in the comments section. We'd like to hear from you guys always on every bit of information we talk about. And we definitely want it on today because we start to do a little bit of the previewing Blue Jays Dodgers. So yeah, whatever texts and, comments you guys have, we definitely want it. Carter, let's start here. You have an update specifically on Bo Bichette. I'm going to get into some of the stuff that I heard as well after you, and then we'll sort of throw it over to Barrow to get his thoughts. But what do you got to kick us off?
Yeah, actually, I want to kick it off in a different way. I just wanted to ask Barrow, just as a Blue Jays fan for his entire life, just going up the ups and downs of the roller coaster this season has been from 2024 to 2025. Just from your perspective, like, how has this experience been for you, this 2025 season of the Toronto Blue Jays?
It's been crazy because you kind of, going back to the start of this rebuild and when the Bows and the Vladdies started getting called up and you're looking at, okay, they're building something here. And then it sort of ended before it began. You went 3 years of being a quote unquote contending team without without a playoff win. You're kind of thinking, oh, well, there it goes, especially with last year's performance. And then for them to just turn it around a month into this season, it's been just such a wild ride and just so great as a fan to just see the boys come together and in this spot where, I don't think anyone sitting here thought we'd see him anytime soon. So it's certainly it's just been a blast. It's been awesome. Been watching every minute. Amazing.
Yeah, like, how can you say anything bad about the season? That's why I respect you for doing this. Yeah, we asked you for Twitter, any handle. No, you're just doing it for the love of the game. So you definitely can respect you for that one. But into the Bo Bichette news. So this has been one of the biggest storylines, at least for the Blue Jays going into the World Series. Was one of the Blue Jays' best hitters going to be ready for the World Series? And this obviously dates back to the PCL sprain on his left knee suffered on September 6th for one of the worst slides at home I've ever seen. Don't know why he's sliding. Don't know why he's being sent. Hindsight's always 2020, but that is one. If you're looking at this Toronto Blue Jays season, it's like, why on earth is this guy doing that in a game that you could say is meaningless, looking at this now and like the way things kind of went down. But the Bo Bichette update is here, and it's there's some positives and some negatives, I guess, because the update is Bo Bichette, he said he'll be ready, but it was always what capacity. And this is kind of what John Schneider finally talked about on Blair and Barker's podcast, just alluding to some of the facts surrounding Bo Bichette and his availability for the World Series coming up. So he said the base running and the defense is something hopefully we can advance and we can check those boxes in the next few days. He's done some light stuff, but hasn't been like a full go at short. And he's not back on the bases yet, but the running has picked up in the outfield, just in terms of the intensity and the buildup, or sort of the length of it, to be completely honest. So yeah, we'll see how it goes over the next couple of days. Kind of continued on to say that it didn't seem like what he was alluding to, that Bo Bichette was going to be ready to play shortstop, especially with Bo Bichette just as a shortstop. This is a guy that isn't the most mobile. Doesn't have the best range. So now with this PCL injury, with the lower body injury, that is going to limit his mobility. I think the way it's looking is that Bo Bichette will probably only be available offensively for the Toronto Blue Jays in the World Series, but that is a whole lot better than nothing at all.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Is that shocking to anybody? Like, did we expect anything else? I don't think so. So the biggest component to Bo Bichette's game is getting his bat. That's the biggest. This is a guy that was first in the league in hits once again until he got injured and only got beat out by 3 hits at the end of the day, even though he missed 2 weeks of the season at the end of the year. You want this guy. I don't care what people are going to say of, well, he hasn't played in a while. He's one of the best pure just hitters in baseball. I'm not saying power. I'm saying for contact. He was first in doubles as well until he again got injured. But just a classic hitter that can drive in RBIs. He was the RBI leader on this team, and he missed, again, 2 weeks. This guy needs to be in the lineup, and if he is, he gives this team a way better shot to compete against the Dodgers here. They have a crazy, crazy lineup, and they are going to need all the help they can get, and Bo Bichette is a massive help. We talked about the 4-hole not really being great. That's a spot where you want to drive guys in, and that's exactly where you need Bo Bichette. Barrow, what are you thinking here?
I agree. I totally agree. You have to have him in the lineup no matter what. Of course, and I think the obvious issue here is there's only one designated hitter spot currently being taken up by someone who also looks like they can't really play the field right now. He could barely play the field when he was healthy. He's George Springer, and you also can't take that bat out of the lineup right now either. So it is going to be a balancing act a bit from John Schneider. It'll be kind of whoever is out there, who's out there ready to go first will take the field in that sense. I know that a lot of the American media was talking, and these are guys that may or may not be plugged into the team. Hearing some things that Bo might be he might be a pinch hitter for the first 2 games, just to kind of get himself back up into the swing of things, just get some competitive at bats again before they really take off, and try to give Springer a few more days to at least be somewhat mobile in the outfield. I don't think this season Springer in right field was a bit of a disaster. I don't think it was as much foot speed as it was with, I think, just with age. His reaction time out there isn't what it used to be. So that is a bit of a concern. Like if you're facing Blake Snell game 1, you put Springer in right, you put Davis Schneider in left. That is not a fantastic defensive outfield, maybe not even a good defensive outfield, regardless you having the Gold Glover and Varsho out there. So it's going to be weird to see how John Schneider can kind of fit these pieces together. And more importantly, this kind of shows you what they value most and who they value most and where everyone is.
See, there's a lot to be determined and a lot to discuss on this topic. So like you said, there's kind of a bunch of people right now on this team that you would prefer to have as your DH. That's not the real scenario here. That's not a realistic option because you can only have one DH. So what it's really, for me, going to come down to is what's going to hurt you defensively more. Is it going to be Bo Bichette playing shortstop? If he's even available to do that, can you put him at second base? Is that something that he's going to want to do amid these contract negotiations? He is going into free agency as well. And then George Springer being in the outfield. Is it going to hurt you having Bo Bichette in the infield more and George Springer at DH, or having Bo Bichette at DH and then making George Springer play the outfield? And then obviously you got to discuss the quality of injuries, just like the how bad these injuries are, like the significance of these injuries. There you go. That's what I'm looking for. Is that Bo Bichette's been out for a month and a half. Like this guy has been sidelined since September 6th, where George Springer just got a fastball in the knee. And then obviously the age, there's a bunch of different things to account for as well. But this guy has been playing. So in terms of significance of the injury, like you got to think that George Springer's probably feeling better than Bo Bichette is. So pretty much like the only thing that I could see happening here is if Bo Bichette is not ready and he has to be DH. Well, obviously, like you said, Tristan, Springer has to be in the lineup. He has to play right field. And with Blake Snell in that first game, Davis Schneider, with his ability to hit left-handed pitching, you're kind of in a tough spot. So we've kind of been on this road for a long time now in this notion where we got to sacrifice offense for defense. And this is kind of where we're at. You're going to need these bats in the order. Your offense is going to be the thing that you're going to need to beat the Los Angeles Dodgers. So I think now it's just about maximizing that offense. And you have to sacrifice some of the defense. That's what you're going to have to do in this scenario.
And I just want to sort of piggyback on what you guys were saying. I to a point agree. I think David Schneider doesn't get enough credit for his ability to play the outfield. The only issue is, I think he's a good fielder. I don't think he's a bad fielder. I think that the only problem is he hasn't gotten playing time in a whole series. So
Totally.
how much does that play in? I think that's more so the case than it is that he's a bad fielder. I think he can go out there and make some really nice plays. We've seen him.
It's not that
dive
he's a bad
across.
fielder, sorry to interrupt. It's just that he's not going to make like that fabulous play. He's not going to go down and have that Miles Straw speed out there, maybe like that Nathan Lucas speed. He's going to make the average routine play, but he's not going to go out there and, be this defensive run saved king. Or
no, but I think we've seen him play. I think we've seen him make extraordinary plays multiple times this season. I don't think that he's can't. If you want to bring up foot speed, absolutely. I give you that all day, taking away room in the outfield. But I think he makes up for that with, I don't know. I want to say heart is the thing, but he's the ability to make those diving layout full catches. And do you want to rely on that? Absolutely not. So there is a definitely defensive slide that you take with David Schneider compared to a Miles Straw or a Nathan Lucas. But in the sense of facing a lefty and you need him in the lineup for his bat, you add David Schneider's bat, which we haven't seen for a whole series, you add Bo Bichette, you have to be able to compete offensively. And against the Dodgers lineup here, I'm on board. And I just, George Springer, I sort of agree with both of you. It's taken a dive, his defensive game, pretty heavily ever since he ran into Bo Bichette in the field. You could sort of see a slow decline since then in his outfielding ability, but I don't think it's absolutely horrendous either. I think he can make the routine plays, but the foot speed, the distance traveled, I think all of that is definitely a downgrade.
I got
so
something here too. Would you guys prefer George Springer in the outfield or David Schneider?
Schneider
by far. Yeah.
Schneider.
I don't think it's by far. I think it's very close, to be completely honest. I think it is Schneider, but I don't think it's like this massive gap that you have.
I don't think it's very. I would say for sure Schneider. I think as far as like the sort of maybe the concern with Schneider is he's not a natural outfielder.
Yeah,
like he'll make the diving catches, but he'll take like terrible routes to those balls where, Nathan Lucas would run a straight line to that ball and not leave his feet. That's, I think, kind of your concern with Davis. And in the playoffs where every inch matters, that might come up to haunt them. But regardless, just based on, I would say based on the eye test and then maybe some of the StatCasty type stuff, I don't think they want Springer in the outfield unless absolutely necessary. But of course, adding a guy like Bo Bichette back in the lineup, I think that counts as absolutely necessary. So I think that they'll do it. And I don't, for whatever reason, I think the media is kind of shying away from that being really the only possibility for this team. I don't know if you two count as the media. If you do, then it's not all the case with everyone. But I think I feel like that's the only natural way forward. And of course that, the Dodgers, I believe they only have the one lefty starter. So so they only have the one lefty starter. You only got to worry about a Davis and Springer in the outfield for, 6 innings, hopefully less. And then after that, you'll have Lucas in there. You can hide Springer in one corner. You'll, throw in Miles Straw in the 8th with a lead when Springer's done his last at bat, and hopefully all goes well.
We're going to come back. I want to talk more about this and just sort of how this impacts the lineup as a whole. Because a little bit talking game one about Barrow, what you just said, sort of plays into what maybe some of the other media sites are talking about in terms of will Bo Bichette be a pinch hitter? And I want to come back and talk to you guys about that right after this short break. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. You guys know how much I love FanDuel. I love placing bets. I love winning bets. And I've been on an absolute heater this past week. I think I'm plus 250. It's been unbelievable. NFL's been giving me good money. The MLB's been giving me good money. You can bet on the CFL. You can bet on NBA, which just kicked off again. I'm not a big NBA guy, but do what you want to do. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. Get $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started.
Today's episode is also sponsored by Rumours. Let's be real, making excuses doesn't solve anything. We've heard all of them before. It's just stressed, I'm tired, or it happens to everyone sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support, and that's where Rumours comes in. Rumours offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. Rumours makes it get started. You just connect with an on-board certified doctor, 100% online. There's no awkward waiting rooms and no in-person appointments. You can visit rugiet.com/lockedonmlb to get 15% off your first order. That's rugiet.com/lockedonmlb. And don't forget to use our code LOCKEDONMLB so that they know we sent you. Rumours, stop making excuses and start making moves.
So, boys, continuing on, Barrow, I love the comment that you made, right? It's one lefty, it's maybe 6 innings. And going back to a point you made earlier in the episode is, will that make Bo Bichette a pinch hitter instead of a full-time DH for that game 1? And that's a fair assessment, I think, from, I don't know, can't remember where you said you pulled that from, but I know there was some media people in the States that were saying that.
Yeah.
And my only issue is that you are able to get the power of Davis Schneider's bat, the on-base percentage of Davis Schneider into that lineup, which is fantastic against lefties. Why then would you hinder yourself putting Bo Bichette as a pinch hitter when you could add 2 good offensive pieces? And maybe it is just for the defense to solidify the defense, but in my head, that's 2 big bats you want in that lineup, because otherwise, yeah, you might have a Barger or a Nathan Lucas or a whoever it will be. It would probably be one of those 2. Why would you do that, Carter? Are you sort of on the same page as me, or do you want to see Bo Bichette be a pinch hitter in that first game?
See, I think I want Bo Bichette in the lineup as much as he possibly can, at least on the offensive side of things. And with the first game, Davis Schneider's probably your number 2 hitter, but I don't really feel that comfortable with Addison Barger playing against lefties. So maybe this is a guy that's probably playing third base, and we've seen this team really prioritize defense. So there's a bunch of different ways this team can go. So if Addison Barger's not in this baseball game, Davis Schneider might be in the infield. That's again a place where he's more comfortable. A guy that's been playing in the infield his entire life throughout the minor leagues. Maybe you throw him at second base. Ernie slides over to 3, and you got Andres Gimenez at shortstop. Bo Bichette playing. I guess he would still be your DH. George Springer would be in right field, but then you would have Nathan Lucas, Miles Straw, somebody who is a little bit more comfortable in that outfield spot, holding down that corner position. So that is something that they could do as well here. I think with just how good Nathan Lucas has been, I don't know if I take him out of the lineup, whether it is a lefty or a righty, but I probably move him down in the order. I think I'm very confident with Davis Schneider, so even though it has been a while. I still think you do have to slot him in at that number 2 spot. If Bo Bichette is ready to play, he's obviously your number 4 guy. Alejandro Kirk probably number 5. Varsho might be 6. Again, you can kind of finagle that as, throughout the game. Maybe there's some pitch hitting situations, stuff like that you can kind of switch up the bottom of the order as well. But I think that is where I would be leaning is right now. If you Davis Schneider has to play, in my opinion, against a left-handed pitcher. So if you're worried about the outfield, I think you have to have George Springer out there. But if you're worried about the other side of it, you probably just move Davis Schneider to second base. And then I think that alleviates some of your problems.
I think that's a great take. I really like that a lot, Carter, because that sort of solves all of your issues. Now, where does that leave IKF?
Off the roster, probably. That's the thing we got to start talking about right now, is that if Bo Bichette's coming back, who are you taking off this playoff roster? You got 26 players, 13 pitchers at max. You can go 14 position players and do 12 pitchers. So maybe that's our next discussion. Tristan, if it was you, Bo Bichette is back here. He is in this scenario. He's playing for the Toronto Blue Jays. Are you taking away from the bullpen, or are you taking out IKF or maybe somebody else from the position players?
I don't think there's a chance IKF is off this roster. That team loves him. He's hitting. Schneider, I feel like he's Schneider's son sometimes. I feel like he likes him a bit too much. But you know what? He came up with some big moments for the fellas. I don't think there's a chance he's off that roster. I don't even know. I still think he might start game 1. I still think you might sit Lucas and Barger and put Schneider and IKF in that lineup. I feel like that's a very strong possibility just based on how things have gone previously.
So, Barrel, sorry, I want to jump in here. I'll throw it right back to you.
Yeah.
To me, I think it's Joey Loperfido. I think he comes off immediately. I don't think there's a question about IKF or anybody else. Joey Loperfido didn't get into ball games. I fully believe that he's the guy that's getting the boot as soon as Bo Bichette comes back. Do you sort of agree?
I'm there. I think there are three possibilities. I feel like Joey Loperfido is the most. He doesn't have a role on the team. You've got Lucas as the lefty. He's a superior defender. You've got Miles as the pinch runner, also a much superior defender. You don't need that many outfielders, especially when you have, infielders by trade like like Davis and Barger that can play a competent corner outfield. I feel like Loperfido is sort of the easy man out here. I would say if they want some more flexibility offensively and they're looking to take a pitcher out, I feel like Yariel is the most likely pitcher to go out, just kind of based on performance, based on sort of how the roles have been lining up, and he's lost his role based on his performance and based on the couple guys that they've brought in to lock down those seventh and eighth innings and the more of the leverage spots. So I feel like if there's a pitcher, Yariel, or if they just don't trust him to get it out anymore, Brennan Little might be a dark horse, but I feel like they'll keep him in there just to sort of have some sort of a backup. But I'm sure that he has kind of lost his leverage lefty spot to Mr. Fluharty at this point.
I think you bring up a really good point about like previous experiences, what the Toronto Blue Jays have done in the past. And that's why I do agree with you guys. Like IKF for me, like when you think about it right away, like IKF would have been the guy, but with how much they love him, the defensive prowess that he possesses, again, probably going to go back to him. So I think it is Joey Loperfido. But another thing that we have seen time and time again is the platoon advantages, whether it's lefties going against lefties, righties going against righties, whether it's pitching, whether it's hitting. So we've seen how much this team does love their lefties. And we look at the circle of trust. We've talked about this on previous episodes. It is paper thin right now. There's not a lot of people in this circle of trust. So if you're going to end up throwing, Chris Bassitt out of the bullpen, if you're going to throw Kevin Gausman on short rest later in the series out of the bullpen, if you don't trust any of these guys anyway, like I feel like what you're probably going to do, or at least with your right-handers, you probably don't trust Yariel. You probably don't trust some of these other guys as well. I feel like Justin Brule is going to make his way back on this roster. And I agree with you. I think it's Yariel Rodriguez, who we didn't see really at all in the LCS. I don't even know if we saw him. I think maybe one time. I think there was one game, maybe the third or fourth game we saw Yariel. But yeah. I think they're going to get Justin Brule back on this roster because we're going to have to talk about how they're going to get Shohei Ohtani, Freddie Freeman, Max Muncy, some of these left-handers out. And Shohei Ohtani specifically hits way better against right-handed pitchers than against lefties. It's going to be hard enough with the lefties that you're rolling out to get Shohei Ohtani out, and that might go for some, discussions later on in the series. Would you prefer the lefty-lefty matchup, or are you just going with your guys in the World Series? But I would not be surprised if Justin Brule finds his way onto this roster, and it's Yariel Rodriguez finding his way off of it, and then offensively, if Bo Bichette's back, I think you guys are right. It has to be Joey Loperfido.
Carter, to be honest with you, I didn't even think about that. It was always a thought in my head of how are you going to handle the lefties? It's tough because you don't trust Brennan Little at this point. That's out the window. You don't trust Yariel Rodriguez. That's out the window, which I hate because I sort of love Yariel Rodriguez, weirdly enough, but you can't trust him. I'm still okay with Brayden Fisher. I'm not out on him. I'm not out on Mason Fluharty.
They like Fluharty too. You can tell they like Mason Fluharty.
Yeah. He's got that little bit of a weird. It's like that dog in him, but it's like a weird dog. It's like one that you find in a scrapyard somewhere. Not the one that not the one that's house trained, ready to kill intruders. It's just the one in the junkyard. Junkyard dog. That's what it is. There we go. Yes, got there.
Figured it out.
Yeah. But I don't know if I don't know how to feel about that. Like Brule coming back.
Well, imagine Justin Brule facing Shohei Ohtani.
Brule is crazy. I don't think you can put
Really?
Justin Brule on a World Series roster. I don't know, man. Like,
see, I don't love it, but you don't have lefties. At this point, they're going to trust Brendan Little over Justin Brule, I would assume. But this John Schneider has shown that he loves the lefty-lefty matchup. So I think, like, is it Braden Fisher or is it like Justin Brule? Like, it probably is Eric Lauer, Mason Flaherty, Brendan Little before it's Justin Brule. But are you going Justin Brule or a guy like Yariel Rodriguez against Shohei? So I do think it's a possibility. I don't love it, but I do think that it's a strong possibility that will happen.
I disagree. I don't think I don't think there's a chance Justin Brule sniffs this roster. Like if you look at, and I know we're about to get into this anyway, so we might as well now. Like I believe if you look at these lefty splits, Freddie Freeman is basically even. Shohei, even though there's a discrepancy, he'll still mash a lefty if he gets a pitch to hit. And the only one with the stark discrepancy is that's our good pal Max Muncy. He's got a good chunk of swing and miss in his game, especially against the lefties. And at the same time, the Dodgers have guys in their lineup that will crush weak lefties like Justin Brule or
Brennan Little.
Brennan, thank you very much. Who's someone that you would trust as a left-handed pitcher on the Blue Jays to go up against Teoscar Hernandez with 2 on, 2 out, down 1?
Yeah, nobody.
Eric Lauer might be my first one.
Yes, and Lauer is probably the only one,
yeah.
And I don't know if he's even going to pitch in those situations. I don't think I can't see them giving that team that opportunity. So I don't think they're going to stack the lineup with weak lefties because they'll still get hit by other guys. Like you can't. It's going to be very hard to pick and choose with the 3 batter minimum exactly who faces who.
So let me ask you this, Barrow, because me and Carter have gone over this a little bit. You know what? I'm going to save it. We're going to take a break. We'll come back because I want this answer from you because it's something me and Carter have tossed around a ton. And I think we need an outsider's opinion because me and Carter, we sit here and during the games and after the games and after the pods, we sit here and, we talk a lot. So we come up sometimes to the same answers and the same thought process. So I'm going to ask you this right when we return, and it has to do with a lefty versus a righty splits. We'll take a quick break and be right back.
Sure.
Today's episode is sponsored by Prize Picks. Every day we make decisions, but on Prize Picks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss the excitement of this football season with Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Playing Prize Picks is so much fun. It's a simple way to add more excitement to football, baseball, hockey, whatever you guys are watching. You just pick more than or less than on player stat projections. And I'm going to be rolling out with some NFL football. We got the Chargers, who I have a lot of fantasy players on that team. So I got more than Justin Herbert's passing yards. I got a rushing touchdown for Kamani Vidal. I really hope he gets in the end zone because I have Amari Hampton in multiple leagues, and I need that production. So if you guys are going to be placing bets on fantasy, if you guys love fantasy like I do, Prize Picks is the way to go. And it just gives you another reason to brag to your friends about your fantasy matchups, but also you making yourself a little bit of money as well. You can download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right.
So, Barrow, as we continue on, this is the question I want to ask you. Are you more okay with, say it's Louis Varland, Jeff Hoffman, Sir Anthony Dominguez, okay? One of those three, take your pick. I don't care. One of those three versus a lefty over any of the lefties in the pen right now. I think this is where me and I'll get your answer and then I'll tell you mine because I don't want to,
Okay, fair enough.
Stuff like that.
It depends on the hitter. Freddie Freeman, give me your best guy regardless of the handedness of the pitcher. Like I will take Louis Varland over Mason Fluharty against Freddie Freeman any day of the week because he has equal splits. He sees the ball so well. He has such good bat to ball skills and he's been around for so long to where that stuff doesn't really affect him as much. If it's a Shohei, it's probably the same thing. Just throw your best arm out there. Like that 1, 2, 3, 4 of the lineup, I think that should all be that should all go to your best right-handed pitcher, in my opinion. If you can, because I would want to keep a left-handed pitcher away from Mookie and Will Smith, to be honest. And you'll take your lumps with Shohei and Freddie if you need to. And I think the big thing, honestly, is just keeping a lefty away from Teoscar, keeping a lefty away from Kike Hernandez as well. That guy's historically killed left-handed pitching in the playoffs. A guy like Max Muncy is when you'll want to bring in your lefty for that for sure. Like those are massive splits. Like I do think it depends more on the hitter than the pitcher. And there are some guys where it depends. Like there are some guys, some lefty hitters where they can, if a lefty throws them a decent fastball, they'll still hit it, but they'll chase that slider away. Or sometimes they know to leave that slider, but they can't hit a curve, or they can't hit a split, whatever it is. So it's all really matchup based for me, but generally I would say trust your big guns unless there is like a massive discrepancy in their splits.
Yeah,
So Carter, that sort of goes back to what me and you were talking about, right?
Yeah, it definitely does. Like it's tough because it's impossible to think that you're going to get through a 7-game series in a World Series with only 3 relief pitchers. It's simply just not going to happen. You're going to have to rely on whether it's Brandon Little, Eric Lauer, Brayden Fisher, one of these other guys is going to have to come in the 4th inning, 5th inning. I don't care when it is. There's going to be a moment where you're going to have to rely on more than 3 relief pitchers. So I think you got to save your best guys for the later innings, obviously. But I think in terms of like the matchups, I don't trust any of our lefties really at all, to be completely honest. Like whether it's Eric Lauer, whether it's Fluharty, don't trust Justin Brule, even though he might be on the roster, but I wouldn't love him seeing him going against like Shohei Ohtani or, Max Muncy. I wouldn't want to see that. So I think in terms of this, like you have to roll your best guy in pretty much every scenario, because what you need from the series, you're gonna need your starting pitchers to go 5 innings. I think that is for sure. This bullpen, clearly, as we're talking about it, that's the Blue Jays' weakness. It's their bullpen depth. It's debatably some of their starting rotation depth, but it is the pitching. The pitching is going to be what is going to give me heart attacks throughout this entire series. So I think if it's not Louis Varland, Seranthony Dominguez, or Jeff Hoffman, the next guy up is probably Brayden Fisher for me. And then I guess it's Brendan Little. Maybe it's Eric Lauer. Like, again, you can kind of rotate these guys in. It's not one of these 3 guys. I'm going to be terrified no matter who it is. So I think whoever John Schneider is the most confident in, that's the guy that you're going to have to roll out in that situation.
Barrel, always appreciate you popping on with us, having these conversations. We want to hear from you guys down in the comment section below because, we have all these thoughts. We talk. We're all buddies. We have these conversations, when we're not on the podcast as well. So we want to hear from you guys about your thoughts, your opinions. What happens with Bo Bichette? Who comes off the roster? What happens with this bullpen? Who's in your circle of trust? We want to hear it all. We're going to come back tomorrow. We're going to talk starting pitching. We're going to talk the keys to the game. We're going to tee up that game heavily for you guys. And Carter, I believe we will have bonus episodes after, or the morning after the games every day. So you don't got to worry about us not being there. There will always be a Locked On Blue Jays podcast, because why not? Why, if we're doing 5 days a week, why wouldn't we just do 7 days a week, right? It's only 2 more days. Anyway, thanks everybody for watching. Barrow, always appreciate you popping on, my guy.
Hey, had a great time, fellas. Always enjoyed to be back here and looking forward to a fantastic World Series. Let's go, Jays.
Carter, anything left for you?
No, I'm going to be terrified talking about the bullpen the rest of the time. I'm going to be terrified watching the bullpen, to be completely honest. The Dodgers are a good baseball team, whether it's Shohei Ohtani or whether it's Kike Hernandez at the bottom of that lineup. It's going to be a tough series, and we know that going into it. But again, we got to just keep believing in the Toronto Blue Jays. Things might not look great on paper, but we know how this team battles. We know how this team likes to grind and just be pests. They like to be pests and like to give other teams a very hard time. So just want to say thank you, Tristan, for coming on, and we'll talk to you guys again tomorrow.